Hello out there, ghouls and goblins, and welcome back to another special edition of A Coward Watches. It's your buddy Ryan, aka The Coward, and today we're watching the 2007 horror film Paranormal Activity. Folks, I gotta tell you, this movie's got everything. Lights turning on, lights turning off, doors opening, chandeliers a-swinging, and
a malevolent force, a demon, hell-bent on stealing a woman's soul.
And now, time for everyone's favorite part of a movie review, a quick synopsis. Paranormal Activity starts off by introducing us to our two main characters, Katie and Micah. And I know you're going to see his name and want to say Micah. I want to say Micah. I want to call him Micah. But through the movie, she calls him Micah. Micah, 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 Micah. Help me, Micah. Wake up, Micah. Come here, Micah. Micah. They're a young couple living together, living the dream. He's a day trader. She's a student trying to become a teacher. Their home is starting to experience some activity. What kind of activity, you may ask? Paranormal activity. It's the name of the movie. You should, come on, catch up. In the first scene, Micah, I'm just going to call him Micah. Micah gets a video camera. He is going to try to detail some of these weird things that are going on. And we see that Micah seems to be a little bit of a skeptic. He knows something strange is going on, but he doesn't quite believe that it's a ghost or a haunting. Meanwhile, she's all the way in on it. Katie is a believer. So much so that she calls in a psychic to try to get some help. The psychic comes, he visits their house. He visits their house. The psychic comes, he visits their house. The psychic comes, he visits their house, walks around with them, gets some of her backstory, and we find out that Katie has been experiencing these sort of things on and off all through her life. It started when she was a young girl in a house where she and her sister would see apparitions standing above their beds. And their house eventually burned down under mysterious circumstances. The ghosts seemed to follow her everywhere she would go. So the psychic explains, leaving your house isn't going to do anything. The ghost is just going to follow you, which is kind of a cool thing that they established, because so often in ghost movies, what do we think? The people are there, a couple weird things happen. You're like, oh, okay, well, you don't want to abandon your house. And then like a giant monster appears and we're still staying. We're going to figure this out. No, get out, you dummies. But in this one, it's established, if they leave, the ghost is just going to follow them wherever they go. So they got to try to confront this thing. The psychic actually says he is not equipped to handle this. He doesn't think it's a ghost. He thinks it's a demon. And for that, you need a demonologist, because they're different specialties. They don't like to mix, but he recommends a good demonologist to them. Before we move on with the synopsis, I should tell you guys, we actually have something cool happening here. I have my first sponsor, and they sent along an ad, and we're going to air it right now. Please enjoy. Hello, I am Dr. Samuel Trout of Trout Demonology. At Trout Demonology, we can handle all your demon issues. Large demons, small demons, medium-sized demons, speed demons, Demon Waynes Jr., any type of demon. But we don't mess around with ghosts. I cannot make this clear enough. Ghosts are psychics. Demons, that's me, a demonologist. Ghosts over here, demons over here, never shall the two meet. Get it? Got it? Good. Trout Demonology. We don't do ghosts. I don't think that was a real sponsor. If you hear my neighbor's dog barking or any talking in the background or anything, it's demons. It's just demons and ghosts. Adding to the atmosphere. It's definitely not a shoddy production being made in my living room. It's boo. Anyhow, after dealing with the psychiatrist, he leaves. He gives him the demonologist's number. They decide we're not going to call him yet. We're going to just try to deal with this on our own. Oh, and I should mention one thing that psychiatrist told him is you don't want to antagonize the demon. You don't want to like challenge it. You don't want to try to communicate with it. Micah suggests getting a Ouija board and trying to talk to it and give it what it wants. And he's like, no, don't do that because what it wants is Katie. So you don't want to do that. Things start ramping up. We see a door open at night while they're sleeping. We see lights turning on and off. Pictures start breaking. At one point, Katie wakes up and is standing above the bed just staring at Micah for like 2 hours while he's sleeping. And they're showing this with like a time lapse of, it's going by very quickly, but we see her just standing there, kind of rocking back and forth watching him. Then another night she gets up, she leaves their room. He wakes up, goes to try to find her. She's outside. It's cold out. She's sitting on a swing in like a trance-like state and won't come in. Things are just getting weirder and weirder, and they're fighting more and more. And the psychiatrist has mentioned that demons can feed on negative energy. So it seems like it's trying to drive a wedge between them, make them turn against each other, and then feeding off of that negative energy. And most of it is coming from the fact that Micah is a humongous dumbass. He just continually does stuff like, hey, demon, is this all you got? This the best you can do? Bring it, demon. And I'm not joking. Like, that's pretty much verbatim his lines in a lot of scenes. Something spooky will happen. He's like, oh, a picture broke? That's the best you got? What are you going to do next? Couldn't do anything better than that, I bet. You'll definitely not end up murdering me. He is just a frustrating character because so many times Katie's like, hey, don't do this thing, Micah. And he's like, I won't do that thing. And then the next scene, it's like, Micah's doing that thing. It's really annoying, and I hate him and his ultimate fate. Spoiler for this very old movie that you're watching me spoil, when he dies at the end. I didn't feel that bad because I didn't like his character very much. I felt for Katie. She came off as sympathetic. Him, not so much. So things progress and progress. Finally, one night, she is torn out of bed by this malevolent force and pulled down like through the house. Micah gets up and goes. He's let her go, stop, and all this. They're freaking out, and she's like, "We have to leave. We have to get out of here." And they show that something, when this happened, bit her on her back. She has bite marks on her back from whatever this was, this demon. She's like, we have to get out of here. We have to leave. He's like, okay, we're going to get a hotel. He starts packing. Then she's like, changes her tune and she's acting all weird. She's like, no, I think we should stay. It's going to be all right, dear. And I'm like, dude, I know you're into this. I know you love her. Break it off, man. It ain't worth this. So she's acting all weird. They go to sleep that night. She gets up out of the bed. She watches him sleep for a long time. And how these people are sleeping with all this going on, because they show them sleeping like uninterrupted for hours. I wish I could sleep that well, and I don't have demons in my house as far as I know, other than my son, who at times can be problematic. So she's watching him sleep. She walks downstairs. We hear, Micah, Micah. He wakes up, oh, Katie, where's that demon? I'll get him. I'll show him what is this the best he's got? He runs off. We hear screaming and like fighting sounds, and we hear Micah like shouting in pain, and screaming. All of a sudden, Micah's body comes flying through the doorway into the camera, slams into it. Katie comes walking in. She kind of like crawls in all creepy. She looks at the camera. She gives a creepy smile and like turns basically into a demon and attacks the camera. That's the end. And then we get little graphics that say his body was found a few days later by police and her whereabouts are unknown. As you know, we give every movie here 2 ratings, a quality rating and a horror rating. For quality, was it a good movie? For horror, did it make me piss my pants? Quality-wise, I got to give this thing a 3. It's a solid movie. I don't think it's spectacular. I don't think it's poorly made. I don't like to compare the movies that I'm watching directly to each other, but it's hard not to compare this to the Blair Witch Project, which I just watched. They're both found footage films. They both have very small casts. They both have people being attacked by a malevolent force that's trying to drive a wedge and make them fight each other, and ultimately ending up dying from it at the end. And I gotta say, I enjoyed Blair Witch more. I thought it was scarier, which we'll get to in a minute. I also thought it was just a better put together movie. For all the criticisms of Blair Witch having unlikable characters, I found myself sympathizing with those characters and their situation a lot more. I think in this movie, because Micah was such a dumbass and did stupid things to antagonize the demon and make it attack them more, I just disliked him, and it was harder to sympathize with them. And they made good use of the found footage thing with him wanting to film what was going on and setting up the cameras. And that limited amount of what you could see, you know, the camera not following them downstairs, but staying stationary in their bedroom and things like that, that added to the horror. Now, as for the horror rating, I'm going to go with a 2.5. I don't think it was quite as scary as the Blair Witch Project or some of the other movies I've seen. The scares were there. There's some good jump scares involved in it. There's a lot of good tension that's built through it. And much like the Blair Witch Project, it's a monster we don't ever see. And psychologically, that builds and builds in your mind and makes it all the more terrifying. So overall, it's a 5.5, which is a pretty high rating. I believe that's our second highest rating to this point. And it wasn't the best movie, and it wasn't the scariest movie, but it was decent on both. And that's been fairly rare so far. So that's going to put it pretty high in the rankings. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, anything you can do to get me out there. If you have friends who like horror movies, who like stupid videos like this, share with them. Let them know. I'm trying to build an audience of more than like 5 people. Next time I'll be coming at you with the horror movie Drag Me to Hell, which I think is some sort of RuPaul show, but I'm not totally sure. And no matter what problems you have in life, no matter if you're busting ghosts or telling demons adios, no, excuse me, no. Ghosts over here, demons over here. This guy's mixing them up. Don't listen to this man. He is stupid. Don't listen to this stupid man. Anyhow, you are damn sexy.